What's up, Westside? I'm Carson.
And I'm Raquel.
And today we're joined by our friend Anni, a Venice-based singer, songwriter, and poet, and the creator of Saturdays at 7.
Saturdays at 7 is one of the coolest places to find out new music on the West Side. It takes place at awesome locations that range from Anni's backyard to Juneshine to Dogtown Coffee. I'm sure many of you have seen it around so far. It's a great community, great artists. Carson and I are personally fans, and we just couldn't be more excited to chat with Anni today.
Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
All right. Who wants to kick us off? Raquel, you want to kick us off?
Oh my gosh, you read my mind. Well, Anni, thanks so much for being with us on the What's Up West Side podcast. But I mean, why don't we kick off? I mean, you know, Carson and I know you, but I'd love to hear a little bit about who you are, what you're building on the West Side, and what you're all about.
Well, I've lived in Venice for about 5 years, and I always wanted to have a house concert. It was kind of a dream of mine. I lived in New York for a couple of years, and it was not possible in a tiny apartment.
Sense.
Yeah. And so when I moved to Venice, I found this patio, and I was like, you know what? I think it's time. And then we did it. Probably our first show was September of 2018. And then from then on, it's been a thing for a while, and it's just been a great place to also showcase my music and stuff like that. So
that's phenomenal. Okay, so what is Saturdays at 7?
Yeah.
I mean, like, walk me through it, because I've been before as a guest, right? Like, and I've seen the artist perform, but what is it in its entirety?
It's basically, how I like to describe it is it's a home for people on the West Side. I like to have it be a space where everyone can come and enjoy music and art of a lot of different mediums too. Like, we're trying to have like poetry, we're trying to have like painting, we're trying to have everything there, not just music, almost in a way. And have it be just a really great place to meet people and enjoy art, and without the pressures of like a bar or a pay to play venue and stuff like that. So I always think it's more special at a home. So
So you said you did your first one in 2018?
Yeah.
And so how often were you doing it back then?
Back then, it was probably once a month or maybe every 2 months, I'd want to say. My roommate and I at the time, we had the idea. We did one in September and then took a break over the holidays. And then we did one, probably our second one was January. And that one, we already had, I think, like 50 or 60 people at the second one. And we're like, oh, people actually like this.
That's
like,
pretty
cool.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. And then by like the fourth, I think, musicians started actually submitting, and they were like, can I play? And I was like, oh, like, people want to do it. Yeah. And then it just kind of organically grew from there. So yeah.
Wow, that's so crazy cool.
Yeah.
I think it speaks to probably such a need one, I'll start by saying Carson and I aren't musically inclined, so this is foreign to us. I mean,
that piano over there I haven't touched in the 2.5 years that I've lived here. I have not played it.
But it is
once.
yours.
It is mine.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then you're slightly, like a little bit.
I played for like 5 years when I was younger.
Okay,
so
that's
I got
doable.
back into it a little bit in college. Since I've lived in this apartment, I have not touched that one time.
So it sat in that beautiful window. You need to like put a
There's
desk
a dust cover on it, fortunately, collecting dust.
That's like a prime spot in the apartment too.
I know.
It's right next to the sauna.
You can,
next to the sauna. Yeah, exactly. You can like serenade whoever's in the sauna.
Yep. If you ever come to my apartment and I'm serenading someone singing a sauna, that will be a sight to see.
That would be a sight to see.
That would be
Yeah.
But what I was going to say is we're not musically inclined, so we really don't know what happens in like the LA music scene.
Yeah.
But the fact that on your fourth time, artists were submitting to be a part of it. What other opportunities are there for artists to really showcase? Like I know that like LA is the city of dreams, but it's got to be a hustle and a grind. Like, what are the challenges that the music community faces? I guess
I mean, there are a lot of opportunities to play in LA, but the big issue is that a lot of them are 21 and up, or a lot of them are pay to play venues where you have to bring at least 20 people or you will be charged is another issue.
Whoa.
And at the time when I started it, I think I was 20. So I was like super young still and in the scene of being like, I want to play, but every place is 21 and up. Or I don't want to bug my friends every single week to come to a show. Like, it's not, I mean, it's fine and friends will support, but I think there's something about it where it just kind of feels a little icky for the pay to play. And then, I mean, there are great opportunities though. I think Writer's Block's one of them. We Finding Music's one of them. But there wasn't much on the West Side. I think Winston House had just shut down its house show and started opening up the big shows, which are amazing. And I think there was just this opening of like, we do need music still on the West Side that I think was kind of a missing piece to Venice. So yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. And I think that's why but.
And I mean, Carson and I, we saw your show on I mean, who knows when we're going to air this podcast, but relatively recently we saw your show.
Yeah.
And I was honestly just taken aback by how raw, how authentic the artists were, how the community came out. Like it made me so proud to be a part of the West Side and a part of this community. And I know that you're such a big part in building that. Like truly, Carson and I both looked at each other at one point and said like, wow, I almost cried. Like, sorry, Carson, you're going to go on the record.
Secretly, I have. You're not the only one.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
Oh, well, that makes me happy. I mean, the whole point is really just to bring community together. And I think with music, it can be hard, I think, in bigger venues. And that's kind of why I wanted to keep it intimate. And I wanted to keep it with friends. And it's kind of more of a word of mouth thing. Like we don't do a lot of promotion. It's just like, hey, bring your friends. Let's all hang. Let's have a house party.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that like house party. So I went to one back in May. That was like the one Saturdays at 7 I went to. And I was like pretty astounded by like, wait, this is just somebody's house. And like, everyone's just like, my one friend was
in
like,
the house.
Yeah, where's the bathroom? Like just going to the bathroom in her house. And I'm like, I was like impressed. And like, I like that because that's just like a very, welcoming thing that you're doing. Like, I've never met you before that. I've never met you like, before this week. So like being at your place and like at a house party and you're just like so inviting and warm to like everyone in the community. Like I was like, this is awesome. And like, I want to know more about this. You will not believe the amount of sage sprays my friend have gotten me though, just to sage my room after it. Cause the amount of people have been like, Annika, your room has so much like energy in it after these shows. So I have like 12 sage sprays now lined up and I just spray my room every time. But I've always just like I don't know what it is. I've always just wanted to have people over and I've never thought about it being such a weird thing to host a ton of people in your house. But everyone's told me recently, they're like, wow, a lot of people in your room, a lot of people in your bathroom. I'm like, whatever. But I think it's just kind of what I love doing. So I've never thought any differently. But yeah, it is strange sometimes to see like 100 people crowding my yard in my house.
Absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, it's a little.
And I remember from your house, one of the coolest pieces was the paint wall.
Yes, the paint wall. Yeah.
Which would love to hear you just describe how you thought about that idea to bring it together. But I looked at that and I was like, this is someone who was a builder of community. Like it was almost like if you walked past a park and you saw a mural and you're like, wow, the community got together and built that. Yeah. I saw the paint wall and I was like, the community built that, is continuing to build it. When new people come, they feel a part of it. Like
exactly.
How did that start?
So when we started up Saturdays, my roommate is a painter. Well, my roommate at the time, Kira, is a painter. And we were talking about ways, because we feel like whenever we go to parties, we don't know anyone. And it's kind of this awkward thing of like, how do you meet people? And she was like, what if we put up a paint wall so that people can gather around that? If they come alone, they can be painting and meet other people painting. Like it's a very it's like your little safe corner at a party that you can just paint and express yourself. And that was the whole point of it, I think, at first. And then it kind of grew because at first we got like a little canvas. We're like, we'll put it up. And then since then, every canvas gets filled every show, which is like...
So it's a new canvas every show.
Wow. Almost every show. We sometimes keep it up for like 3 shows if it doesn't get fully filled. But I think we had a Christmas show in December and it got covered in 1 show, which is insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so then do you like strip it down from the wall?
Yeah.
Like roll
so
it
I have
up
like
and put
20, 30 canvases now in my garage, not knowing what to do with them yet.
Wow. What a cool, I don't know what you would do with it, but whatever you do with it is going to be pretty darn cool.
I kind of want to like do like an art gallery at some point and like have a show in a big space and put up all of the canvases and people can be like, oh, I went to that show and painted that, or make it this whole thing, because they're kind of like now collector's items from 5 years and some of them are not very tasteful, but some of them are really great. It's like you kind of have a hit or a miss with them, but it's art. Yeah, it's fine. There can be some, bad words on there. It's fine.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Yeah.
What was like the point where you like realized like the magnitude of what you were building? Like, was there any like moment in particular that you were like, whoa, like this is actually like more legit than I even expected it could be? Like, was there anything like that?
Honestly, I don't think it hit me. Probably until this year. I think I was always just trying to build it and never thought of it as like, almost a business in a way. And then I think the past year after COVID, we brought it back. I guess last year, we brought it back 2021 or 20. Yeah. So I guess it's been over a year. But I think the growth from then until now has kind of shown me the magnitude of it. And I think once we started selling merch and we were selling out of shows each show, I was like, oh, this is becoming a thing.
Yeah.
And then we partnered with Juneshine, and now we're moving to New York soon. And like, that was kind of where it hit me, where I was like, oh, this is like actually like we can sell out shows, which is great. So I think that was when it kind of hit. But
wait, so you're moving to New York? Tell me a little bit more.
Well, I'm
about
staying
that.
here.
Right. But like the concept is expanding, is what you're saying.
Yeah, the concept's expanding. So we're trying to move it. We got offered Nashville and New York recently to start doing it there. So I'm trying to figure out how to keep the essence though of Venice and Saturdays, but still move it there. There's a Juneshine that just opened in New York. So that would help with the transition, because it's still very much so like LA West Side vibes. And it's in Williamsburg, so it's perfect. But yeah, so we're hoping it'll work out. But yeah.
That's so exciting.
So, yeah.
And I think that's part of it too. I mean, the focus of What's Up West Side is obviously the West Side, but I think it's so incredible to see people who are building here and then like expanding too. Cause I think that the culture we have here is it's so unique and different. When I say I live in LA, it honestly feels weird to say that, because I'm almost like, oh, I live on the West Side though.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like we have a distinct culture. And so
there's
being
a difference.
able to bring that, and the fact that's so top of mind to you as you go to New York is, I think it's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah. I think there's definitely, I mean, cause I grew up partly in LA, and I think there is a difference of the West Side. I think the people here, the community, like everyone's like, oh, if you live in LA, you drive everywhere. You don't really know your neighbors. It's always kind of been a stereotype of LA. And I think Venice kind of debunks all of that. Like I walk everywhere. I know all my neighbors. It feels like a little community inside a big city, which I think is the most special part about it. So yeah.
No, I'm so with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about Saturdays at 7.
Yeah.
And we will give viewers information at the end of the show for how they can find Saturdays at 7 and all that good stuff. And they'll be posted. Links, we'll make sure they have it. Would love to hear more about you though and your music, because obviously Saturdays at 7 is rooted from a place in your life, like related to music. So kind of how did you get started on that music journey? Like what does it look like in LA?
Yeah, I think I started music when I was about 7. I was writing songs and my parents were like, oh, this is not normal. And then they forced me into playing piano, which I hated for a couple of years.
I mean,
yeah. So I feel you with the piano lessons. I had a crazy, I think she was a Russian classically trained pianist, and it was terrifying.
Seems very nice.
And then I was like, I'm terrified. And then my mom she's like, oh, you hate this. And so she put me in songwriting classes instead for piano, which was amazing. And then it just kind of grew from there. And I think I've always loved music and I've loved writing, and combining the two was such, I think, an important part for me in high school and college, because I was kind of shy. And I never really could express myself. And so I made a joke, like if anything ever happened or someone hurt me, like I'd put in a song and they wouldn't know until it came out. Like I never could say how I felt. And to this day, I think I still sometimes do that. And so it was kind of my way of expression that turned into a passion for music. And then, I've been doing it for a while now. But
like calling someone a crazy, stupid bitch.
Yeah, a little bit. Exactly.
That's a great
one. That's a great one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That one is a fun one. Yeah.
Which for the record is an interactive song.
It is. It is. Oh, I love making it interactive, because everyone's like, oh, you want me to scream bitch? I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Go.
I was screaming bitch on Monday.
It's really fun. It's always, that one's one of my favorites to perform, I think. So,
that's so good.
Yeah.
So like all the other artists that performed on Monday, like how did you get connected with them? How did you get connected with Winston House? Like how did that all come about?
Yeah. So basically I've known of Winston House for a while. I went to their house shows back, they were doing house shows when I was in high school, I want to say, and I was going to them then and then into college. And then Corey runs it, he's a huge tastemaker in LA in general, but mainly in Venice. And we had kind of talked back and forth for a few years, actually. Like it's always kind of been on my bucket list to do a show there. And he reached out, I think maybe like 2 months before Christmas, and was like, hey, we're doing this thing. We want to showcase Saturdays. and would you be on board? And I was like, 110%. Like that's a huge bucket list item of mine. And yeah, just developed into a really great relationship. And I think it's the coolest venue, I think. The sound's great. The people are great. So yeah.
And the other two guys you play with, I actually know Judah from another like volleyball friend group. Yeah, I play golf.
I feel like you're not from the West Side unless you play volleyball. Let's put that down right now.
I met
you
Carson
have to play volleyball.
I met Carson through volleyball. I met you through volleyball.
There you go.
I mean, there's 2 data points right there.
Yeah.
So like, how did you get connected with them two?
I got connected. So Patrick I've been playing with Patrick, I want to say for 5-6 years. Like he's always been my right-hand man. I think I met him through Saturdays, though. I think when it first started, a friend of mine had recommended him to play because I think my guitarist was out of town or something. And he's been around for forever now. He's great. He also does sound for Saturdays. So he's our main sound engineer, which saves my ass because I cannot work a soundboard for the life of me. So that's great. And then Judah, I met actually through Saturdays as well, I think. Yeah, he came to a show. He was like, I play cello. I'm like, that's amazing. And he's like, I'd love to play with you. And I was like, 100%.
Wow.
And so he's been doing it with me for a couple months now. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's cool because like I feel like everyone that I meet kind of comes through Saturdays in a weird way recently. So it's nice for all those connections with musicians. So yeah.
Do you find that people, I mean, just how big Saturdays have grown, that people are now coming to your house, to your show, watching you sing and still not knowing who you might be at that point? Like they're like, it's to the point where like someone could walk up to you and be like,
oh yeah,
whose place is this? And you're like, it's my
that
place.
Probably happens at least 4 times each show. You would not be surprised. It's the funniest thing because someone would be like, oh, like I'll be standing in my room, like, I don't know, reapplying lipstick or grabbing my drink.
In your own room.
Yeah. And someone goes, oh, I wonder whose house this is. And I'll turn around and I'll be like, hi. Like it happens every single show. Or someone will be like, hey, like, where's the bathroom in this place? And I was like, oh, it's around the corner. He goes, oh, it's a cool house. Who lives here? Or like just random questions like that. And I just chuckle. Or they'll be like, I cannot believe someone lets this many people in their room. And they'll say it right while I'm standing there. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
Like,
it must be crazy.
Like, they must be crazy.
Yeah.
Like,
It's the 12 sage sprays. Yeah.
So it does happen a lot, but I think it's great because then that kind of tells me that it has become its own thing almost in a way, which is really exciting, that it's not just like my friends who know me. It's like people who have no idea who I am, who also know what Saturdays is. So
totally. I think you're building something that's in a way bigger than yourself. Like you'll always be at the core of it, but I mean, I think that's probably one of the most humbling things in the world is when the community, you built something so big that like
the community. Yeah. And I think it in a way I tell people like Saturdays is the community, or the community is Saturdays. Because I think it wouldn't be possible without everyone coming. So it's kind of like, hey, like, thank you. Like keep on showing up and supporting it. So yeah.
So you said you have a roommate?
I do have a roommate.
So like, how does this all work?
I knew that question was coming.
Like,
so all my roommates that I've had besides one have been close friends, which has helped a lot. Because I don't think a lot of people would be down for that type of event every single month. But everyone that I've had has been super chill about it. I think my first roommate was my best friend, Kira, who I've known since I think birth, honestly. Our families have always been friends. And she helped with the idea from the start. And then the rest of the roommates were all, I guess, creative in their own ways, and they loved the idea. And I always kind of warned them before they moved in, like, hey, this is what happens. And they're chill about it. Like, I don't, like,
they're like, why do you have so much paint in the closet?
Yeah, why are there like paint on the walls? Like, what's going on here? So my roommate, right now my roommate, she's a painter. She's amazing. She actually made the backdrop for our most recent show and showcased it and everything. But she's moving out actually. So I'm now looking for a roommate.
Oh my gosh. Well, if you like music
and a ton of people running through your house.
House parties.
I mean, honestly, that's not bad.
Sounds like fun.
Sounds like fun. Pretty fun, I think.
I
would sign up for it, but I understand some people might be like,
a
little bit. But no, everyone's been really chill, which has been amazing and super supportive. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
A couple things we wanted to ask about. What would you say is your biggest struggle right now?
Ooh, okay. This one kind of actually was from my friend, and I got together this morning and had a meeting. And she told me that I'm terrible at being the bad cop. which is so true. I think that's a big struggle for me right now because I like to, I don't know, I think appeal to everyone. And that's a big struggle of mine, is to understand when to say no and when things aren't right for Saturdays or things are right for me or whatever. And also just running a business is quite a difficult thing to do when you're a 25-year-old girl and people are kind of is she serious or is this just a house party? I think I have to kind of put that bad cop on my shoulder sometime and be a little more tougher with situations. And that's probably my struggle, but I'm working on it. And she's also the bad cop for now, which is great. She's cause she joined the team recently and she's I got you, I'll be the bad cop. And I was perfect. But yeah, I think that's one of them. So yeah.
Who's the bad cop between us? I think it's gonna have to be.
Everyone needs one.
You think it's gonna be me?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
think we might be two good cops.
I think it's great to be a good cop. You want to be, but
or were we two bad cops? No, we're two good cops.
I think you saying that
makes you the good cop.
I think good cops don't suggest being bad cops.
Yeah, no. But okay. I think it's just understanding. Yeah. No, it's a terrible analogy. Being a nice person versus a knowing your worth situation, I think is
No, but I see the struggle because for all intents and purposes, when we're talking, we just talked about, hey, I'm a roommate that has to be cool with house paint and people coming through it. Yeah, people could perceive that as just a house party.
A house party, yeah.
But to your point, it's a legitimate business
that's running. Yeah,
you're running. You've built it.
Yeah,
you have people, that are helping. You build it too. But you're the CEO of this, and you're expanding to New York. I mean, for all intents and purposes, that deserves the street cred as any other. I'll say it, a boring business that's being built, because this is anything but boring. But it deserves that level of credibility because it totally is phenomenal.
Yeah. And I think it's just understanding business. And I mean, I went, because I dropped out of college and I went to art school. So I never really had a lot of the brand management classes and accounting and all of that stuff that you need to run a business. So I'm learning it firsthand as I move along, which is really exciting because I think I'm learning new things every single week and understanding everything and having friends help me. But it definitely is a struggle sometimes because you're oh, I don't even know what I'm doing. You get imposter syndrome in a way, and then you just be nice and blah, blah, blah. And you're no, you need to understand where this is going. And
yeah, I think the most important thing is surround yourself with good people that you just trust that have different skill sets than you.
That's what I've realized. Exactly. And
because, you can't do everything.
No. And I think I always put that pressure on myself for a while of I have to do everything and get this going. And it's just me. And now I'm no, it's not. I have Patrick, I have Peter, I have Nina, I have Mira. I have all these people who want to help out with Saturdays, and they're all amazing and they're all part of the team now. And we all have different strengths. And I think that's what makes it even better than it was before, because you have people that bring in so many different aspects.
Totally.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And so, I mean, you have so many people supporting you. You've got all the street cred in the world. What's the future of Saturdays at 7? I know from 2018 to 2023, 5 years, wow, it's come so far.
Yeah.
What does it look like in 2025 in Venice?
Yeah.
A year, 2, 3 years down the line. What's the brand taken? Have you expanded with?
Yeah.
I'm so curious.
Yeah. I think it's been a question of kind of where we want to take it right now. But I think my dream is to have it grow into its own event space, or it's either an event space or it's almost like a Soho house for artists. It's a members club. I think it could be really cool to make a space in Venice where you can come and work during the day and also network with other artists, and then have events during the night. And it can be an art gallery. It can be just a huge home in Venice for artists to come together is kind of a big goal of mine. But also to keep throwing out shows in other places besides just my backyard. I think we're expanding to a couple more venues this year. And I think it's really cool to also make it kind of a movable concert at the same time. So I'm kind of stuck between both ideas. But definitely growing it into having concerts, not just on Saturday, maybe having them other times of the week, or having a couple on Saturday at different venues, and kind of continuing to build it to not just a smaller house concert. Yeah.
I think it's funny that you said Soho House for artists because like the entire concept of Soho House, I do feel like has been like recently broken down. Like I know people now who are members of Soho House, and I'm like, what kind of portfolio did you submit? Because like you have no connection to anything music, art, creative in general. Yeah. I feel like they've kind of opened it up too much to like people that have money, and it's now just become like a social club, less so than like a creative club.
And that's because I'm a member, I will say. And I love it, but I think it's more of a social club. Let's put it that way. Like we actually did a show at Soho House recently, which was really fun, but it is a humongous club too. Like they have, I went to their places in London. I was like, they're everywhere. Like you could go to a city and there is a Soho House, which is incredible. And like, it's a hotel, it's all that stuff. But I don't think, at least from where I've been looking for, I've never found a space that's not like a WeWork. That's not like just you know what I mean? That's just a smaller space. That's a community space that you could rent out rooms, or you can do, you know what I mean? Stuff like that to bring artists together. Yeah. If that makes any sense. Like have an art studio, have a photography studio, have an event space, like all in one area. It's like a one-stop shop.
Okay. So you're thinking about it as not just an opportunity for artists to perform, but actually like, hey, you're looking for a cellist. Is that a okay. Yeah. A cellist? You're looking for a cellist. Yeah. Like this is a space to meet other artists, or you're looking to produce, or you're looking to make connections, and like we can have, you know, I'm probably oversimplifying, getting it wrong, but like a career day where it's 100%. Like there's so much that you probably could do.
It's almost like the YMCA for artists. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like make it a really cool spot where everyone can come together. You can work, you can, I don't know. It's one of the ideas that I've thought that it could grow into, because the whole point of Saturdays is community. And it would be really cool to have a space like that, and showcase all the paint walls on the wall, and just make it this big art gallery space where kind of you can support each other in this area. So yeah.
And then for the other venues that you mentioned, like I think one of them's a coffee shop. I know you've performed at Juneshine. Yeah. I'm sure there's like a billion others. Yeah. Would you mind like saying what the flavor of what those performance spaces look like?
So we have Juneshine, which is amazing. I love that space. We do one once a month there, every month, I think. And they're like our main sponsor. They've been supportive for like 2 years now. So we do it there. It's very beachy and cool. And then we have Dogtown, which is like super cozy and nice. And they have like a huge tent outside, and it's really nice. And they'll serve coffee, which is a huge perk. And then we did them at Budman recently, which was one of my favorite shows we've ever done.
What's Budman?
So Budman is a giant art gallery in Venice. And it's the coolest space I've ever been in. Like every part of the wall is covered in art, like no matter where you look. And it's not just like simple art. Like there is an airplane wing in one of the rooms. Like it's very strange. And like the artists perform right in front of this giant trampoline that's covered in spray paint. Like it's really cool. It's a giant space. And we did our Halloween show there, which was probably hands down one of my favorite shows. And everyone dressed in costume, and it was crazy. And then we also do them we did one at Venice West, which was really fun. Cool. And then we've done them in a couple other backyards in Venice, which have also been fun, because like, it just kind of keeps
friends' backyard. Like I'm wondering if like I know this is one of our first podcasts, right? But like let's say someone's here and was like, oh my gosh, I'm operating this crazy. I have this cool space, this venue that would be cool for something.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean,
they would. Yeah, that's kind of how it works. I think a lot of times, like I found my friend Jimmy. We met through Saturdays. He was at a Juneshine, and he was like, hey, I have a huge backyard. I want to host one of these. And then within 2 weeks, we had a show at his place because we needed a venue, and it worked out so well. So stuff like that, I think it's more just about communication and like talking to people and figuring out which spots work best and then bringing it there. So yeah. So if you have spots, let me know.
I mean,
I do not have a backyard. At all.
You have your piano and your sauna though. So like we could do it in the
You know, I've had like maybe like 20 to 25 people in this room before, so but we didn't have anyone in the sauna. So we could probably fit 2 in the sauna. No one was sitting at the piano, so add a couple more. Not a bad venue.
100%.
I'll have to talk to my roommates about that one.
I can't wait to see, because we're not going to show the footage of this, but what people are picturing in their mind.
No, I already expected this sauna to be a recurring thing that we talk about.
So funny.
I know, and it's just so. It's
just so like.
It's also the only one I've ever seen.
This is the first.
Massive.
This is my first
Yeah, you.
portable sauna.
I've never seen a portable sauna
Did you
that
ask
size.
about it the first time you came into my apartment?
No, I didn't. I thought it was like a.
But you just assumed. You just
I thought
were like,
it was like a place where if you wanted complete darkness,
you can get that. You can get that there.
It was your like panic room.
I just don't think it's something along those lines.
No, I want this to be like a recurring
Do you
thing.
have a
And we
panic room?
eventually reveal it at some point.
The sauna.
Yeah,
I
that's
kinda
my
want a
bedroom.
panic room,
My
actually.
bedroom is a panic room.
I kind of want to. Yeah, that's mine right now. But
I got some.
You want to rent the sauna?
I might rent the sauna as a panic
I got
room.
some blackout curtains and
Yeah,
we're good.
it's like where you go and you just really
Panic on.
panic on, just really get in the zone. Well, that's so funny.
I also work there, so yeah, a lot of panic happens sometimes during the work.
During the work day,
So,
you just
yeah.
go into the sauna and just close it all up.
Yeah. What are you most excited about in the future? It doesn't even have to be Saturdays at 7 related. What are you most
Yeah.
excited about?
I mean, besides Saturdays and where it's going to go, wherever that may take it, I think is exciting. But for personal, I think I'm excited about this new artist project. I started it last year. It's called Anni. I used to go by Annika Grace, and then I switched it last year to Anni. And it's just this kind of whole new journey for me of like new sound, a lot more acoustic and vulnerable and less produced. I was kind of doing the very pop route for many years because I think when I was in high school, I got pushed into that, and then it went into college in my early 20s. I think I was told that like pop music sells, and I was like, okay, I got to do pop. And then I kind of had this switch, and I was like, you know what? Like I write poetry on the side, and I was like, none of these songs that I'm writing are influenced by my poetry anymore. And that's when I knew there was a disconnect. And so this whole new project's all based on poems that I've written before that are now into music. So I'm excited about that. We have a song coming out, or I have a song coming out February 10th. So that's exciting. And then I have a poetry book coming out, which I'm very excited about.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's the other big mission of the year. So yeah. Yeah.
I think that's amazing. Will the two come out like together so you'll be able to see the poem that influenced the
That's what I'm trying. Yeah. So I have the poetry book done. It's been done for a little bit now. I'm just trying to get it illustrated because I really would love to have some illustrations with the poems. But it's done. It just needs a little work on illustrations, and then I think I'm just gonna self-publish it and see what happens. But yeah. So
Do you think you're gonna have people like from your, community that you've built, like illustrate your book? Like
that's kind of what I want. So that's
pretty
what,
cool.
yeah. Like I have one girl right now who's been illustrating it a little bit while she has time, and she's in the community. Her boyfriend's actually performed at Saturdays many times, and so I was like, oh, this works. But I'm also talking to some other people in the community who might want to jump in, who like illustrate for like Bev and other companies like that who are great and who are Venice based. So I'm trying to keep it, local, but. Yeah, I'm excited. But I think there's like 120 poems. So
wow.
I'm like, I think we gotta like illustrate maybe like 30 illustrations total. Cause like I send it to artists and they're like, oh hun, that's gonna be like a year-long job. And I'm like, not everyone has to be illustrated, I promise.
Yeah.
So now it's just kind of figuring out which ones, and I don't know, like I guess editing it and myself. So yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
What like got you into poetry in the beginning? Like when did you remember like writing your first poem? Like why you wrote it?
Yeah.
Like I'm just kind of curious about like how, you started doing that.
It actually was it was my intro into music because I wrote poems first when I was little. I think I wrote my first poem when I was 7 and I was on a Hello Kitty notepad. And my parents, or maybe 6, and my parents were like, and I could barely write. Like the poem, I saw it the other day, actually, my dad found it in the attic. And it's like all, like everything's misspelled. It's like a little toddler wrote it. But it was a poem about God. And my parents were like, oh, okay, this is a little weird.
That's deep for a 7-year-old.
It was very deep.
And also probably the deepest thing that's been written on a Hello Kitty notepad too, probably if I were a betting woman.
I think I don't know what it was though. It was very strange. Like I just felt this need to write, and I wrote it, and it was a long poem too. Like it filled up the whole Hello Kitty notepad. And then my parents made like 100 copies of it and framed it and gave it to everybody.
Oh my gosh.
Embarrassingly. So everyone still has that. But yeah, it started from there. And then it was always like my therapy. I think I always wrote poems every Christmas. My parents would make a little book and give it out to all the family members, my poems. It was like our thing. And then, yeah, I've always loved it. And then I think when I moved to New York, I started going to like poetry readings and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I really want to write my own book. Like this is actually a passion of mine. And then I got really into it then. So yeah.
I just love how poetry, music, community, art, like it all kind of intersects in such a rich way.
Yeah. It definitely does. I think it all kind of goes hand in hand. I think, because I remember when I was little, I think my parents, they always played music around the house. And I remember one time I was like, oh, like you can write lyrics about anything. And I started like randomly just mumbling shit in the living room. And I think that was where like the love of it came from. It's like you can just like transform a poem into music. Like it doesn't have to be lyrics. Like a poem can be lyrics. Lyrics can be a poem. I think it all kind of goes hand in hand. So yeah.
Well, I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, Carson, you want to do some quick hits?
Oh no! Should I go in the sauna?
You doing the sauna?
I know. I do want to do the hot seat.
I know. I would like to do that.
I think it's a great concept.
Just need somebody to be,
Did you get someone who's like, this is probably evil. I'm the bad guy. Someone I was going to say like prone to sweatiness.
No, you gotta be like, oh my gosh, my apartment's really hot. So cold. Make sure you wear a sweater when you're here.
Yes,
and then you put them in the sauna. I almost wore a sweater here, so that would have been great. But no.
One of the things we wanted to ask is, outside of Saturdays at 7, where would other West Siders most likely find you in the wild? Like, where do you frequent?
I frequent Winston House a lot. I'm going there tomorrow. Once a week, probably I'm there. I'm always at Intelligentsia Coffee. I was there earlier. And Bluestone. I worked at Bluestone for a month. Fun fact.
Bluestone on Rose.
Yeah.
Great spot.
Those two places. I hate to say it, Erewhon.
Why do you hate to say it?
I love Erewhon.
Are you ashamed to love Erewhon?
But I'm there a lot. I live across the street, basically. Like I can't avoid it. Like it's my go-to.
Yeah, it's not you.
It's not me. It's the placement. Like it's evil. Yeah.
But why are you ashamed to love Erewhon? Is it because it's so expensive or because it's so like typical?
It's typical. I think I don't basic. It's LA, but it's so good. Like it's Whole Foods on steroids. That's what I call it. So good.
It's I mean, if you don't like Disneyland, like then you're wrong.
You're wrong. Know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if you don't like Erewhon, I'm sorry. Have you tried the buffalo cauliflower? Let me know.
Yeah. I mean, now you talk about price. That's never a factor. But if you don't like
it,
then that's weird.
You're crazy.
Yeah.
It's just good. But yeah, I think probably those places, and then I'm trying to think. The beach I'm always at, obviously, for obvious reasons. Volleyball.
Totally.
I think those are the main spots. And then just my backyard, I think, is a big one for me. I'm always there because of Saturdays. So it's my favorite spot in Venice. I'm like, my backyard.
Being a beach person, is that one of the reasons that you chose to live in Venice? Like, out of all the places that you could live in LA?
Not, surprisingly. I'm not. I love the beach, but I actually hate the water. I'm terrified of waves. I've tried surfing and I cried. So I'm actually not. And everyone's like, oh, you live in Venice, you must be I'm like, no, I actually hate the water. But I think I've always loved being by the water because I grew up in, first LA, I guess Thousand Oaks, so close to the water, and then Chicago, close to the water, you're on the lake. So I think I've just always been near it, that I just don't know any different. And I also just think it is such a blessing to be by the water. So if you have the option, I always say take it. And it's therapeutic, but
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
But definitely sadly not a total surfer girl.
Yeah.
I wish.
Same. I mean, it is I think that's probably the most unathletic I look.
Oh, same.
Even and that's saying a lot, but it's definitely what I'm trying to surf.
No, did not go well.
Yeah, I've tried surfing maybe 5 times in my life, and I've only had success one of them.
Yeah.
And none of that time was not in LA. I've probably tried surfing 2 or 3 times in LA, and I've kind of just given up trying at this
hard.
point.
And a lot of my friends are pro surfers or like have done it since they were little. And so I'm always like, oh, maybe I'll try this day and I'll go out with them. And I'm like, I'll be the photographer on the beach.
Well, that's so true. I mean, we met 2 weeks ago at our friend's house, and everyone there was a lifeguard or a pro surfer.
We were the odd ones out.
Me and Anni were like surrounded by surfboards.
And everyone's talking about surfing. Even my friend Kayla, who I brought, she surfs. Like everyone surfed, and you and I were like,
and the sand. The sand volleyball.
But no, I think, I definitely chose Venice, I think, for like the community and the art aspect of it. And then the beach was definitely a plus. So
totally.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. And so if people want to find out more about your music, Saturdays at 7.
Yeah.
What are the handles? Where should they go? Is everyone welcome to come to Saturdays at 7? Yeah. I mean, how do people learn more?
So you can find us at Saturdays at 7, all spelled out. So like no 7, it's Saturdays at 7. On Instagram, we actually have a playlist on Spotify where we showcase new artists each week. And then we have a website with like a blog that we also post like features and interviews with artists. And then we have merch on there as well. So that's all the Saturday stuff. And then you can find me at Call Her Anni, Ann and I on Instagram, and then Anni on Spotify. But for Saturdays to come, we do have tickets now.
Woohoo!
Because it was getting a little rowdy. So we have them on Eventbrite. And usually it's up like 2 weeks before, and you can see the shows that are coming up and get a ticket. It's either free or it's like $5 for a ticket for Juneshine. Or you can DM us. Sometimes I just do DM if I don't want to handle the tickets. You can find all the info on the Instagram. So
amazing. Okay. So it sounds like Instagram's really probably the spot to be.
You'll find everything. Yeah.
Spotify or
the website.
Or the website is like the place to go to listen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. I love it.
I'm kind of curious what you would like to see from What's Up West Side. Like, just being a West Sider, and who are some people, we talked a little bit before the podcast about like some people we might want to talk to, but like maybe who are some people that we don't know that you think would be really interesting that like other people should know about, maybe artists or other people that you would want to know about. Is there anything that like you have suggested for
I have a few. I think the first would be my friend Kurt. He runs Backgammon Club here.
I've heard of it. I've seen it on Instagram.
Fun
for so long
ever. Yeah, it's so much fun.
All right.
Like it's so much fun. I go almost every week. I haven't been in like 2 weeks and I miss it.
Kurt, we're coming for you.
Kurt,
she looks in the camera.
Yeah. It's a great environment. It's a really nice group of people. A lot of them come to Saturdays too, so it's kind of like a crossover. And he has them all the time. They're so much fun. And he is definitely a tastemaker of Venice. I feel like he does backgammon, but he also, him and my friend Mira, who's another really good person, they run Venice Film Club, which is also really cool, or Venice Photo Club. And she develops film for everyone in Venice and has her own little film studio, and he helps her run that. So that's another like cool community of people. I'd say them two are like really, I think when I think of Venice, I think of them.
Yeah.
And then my friend Brown Bear is amazing too. He owns, I think Brown. Yeah.
Well, so I live next door to Brown Bear.
Yeah, I was like, I saw your Brown Bear's
Brown Bear was, no joke, the first person I met when I moved to Venice. I like walk. I parked my car. I like am carrying like bags up the stairs, and this bear of a person like is like, hey, you new? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, welcome. I was like, thank you so much.
He's the most welcoming person.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
he's awesome.
Yeah. Does he call himself Brown Bear? Did he introduce himself as Brown Bear?
I don't know his name.
I know.
Like Turtle and Entourage. I don't know his name.
He's told me his name. I just forget it every single time because I always think of it as Brown Bear. And I'm like, I don't.
So do I. But then when you see packages that are delivered. I feel like I'm. I don't know if we should say it.
Don't reveal. Bleep it out.
How about this?
Exactly.
His name is. I'll share. We're gonna bleep it. His name is.
Oh, I knew this. Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. That's it. Thank you. Yeah.
Bleeped.
I remember now because he told me when I first met him, but that was like, I want to say I met him 2 years ago now. And I honestly, for the life of me, forgot. Like I was like, it's Brown Bear.
Yeah.
But he has a really cool art studio too.
Yes.
That I'm actually doing a photo shoot in this weekend for my cover art, and he's amazing. And he always lets people come through. And it's just like, it's another great little space in Venice to hang out and meet people.
Totally.
I think he's doing a great job of curating that space. So yeah.
I love that. And then of course the person who has a stick on their head.
Yes, that one
running
too.
around through.
We
Venice.
gotta
so
find
those
we
four
gotta
people
find the stick
that are
man.
central to
The stick
Anni's
man is a
life here.
mystery to me. I really want to know the story. I
All right.
really
We
want to
will
know.
help figure out.
It's like
what that
Gandalf
guy's
with
all
his
about.
little, what's it? Gandalf with the
Staff.
It's a
The
staff.
staff,
He
yeah.
balances a
Wow.
staff on his head and just, yeah, don't
Wow.
understand it. Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else you want to cover? Any final thoughts for the people of the West Side? Anything?
Oh gosh.
We want this eventually to be like, your megaphone to the people of West
My
Side.
megaphone to the
Just-
people
yeah.
of the West Side.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure. I feel like I'm just really happy to be living in a space where everyone supports each other, and it's a great community of not just artists, but entrepreneurs, of anyone of any field coming together and just wanting to like be in such a cool environment, an artistic space. I think it's really cool that we all just came to this little corner of LA, and yeah, I think I'm excited to see how Venice keeps growing too, because I think it just keeps on evolving every year. So it's cool to keep seeing it grow and more people move here. And yeah,
Totally.
We're trying to be a part of that for sure. you
yeah.
know? Anything you want to plug? Any like upcoming events or?
yeah. We have a couple on the books. Our next Saturdays is January 21st at Juneshine. And then we have another one on the 11th at my house in February 11th. And it will be a Valentine's Day show. So if you are single, please just know that it's going to be a singles Saturdays.
Whoa.
So it's going to be fun.
Oh my gosh.
And then, I mean, everyone's welcome though. But if you are single, there will be special things for you there. Let's put it that way.
You have my attention.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And then my song comes out the 10th, February 10th. It's called I Choose You. And yeah, those are the main plugs.
So exciting.
Yeah.
Did I happen to see you put something on your Instagram?
I did today.
Was it that song?
It was that song.
I was like, I think I'm familiar with that title.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
where have I heard that before?
Yeah, I think it's going to be called I Choose You. I actually haven't solidified the name yet. It might just be Choose You. But look up Choose You something on February 10th and it'll be out. So yeah.
Got it.
We can do it.
Yeah.
Well, amazing. Well, thanks so much for joining us
Yeah,
today.
thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This was so much fun.
Yeah.
Kicking it off.
Woo, woo, woo.
Woo.
Thanks for tuning in. And if you think there's something we should be covering, DM us on Instagram at whatsup_Westside and let us know. I'm Raquel.
And I'm Carson, and we'll see you next time on What's Up West Side.